All right, let's talk
kemajuan
about the Holy
teknologi
Grail,
memang menjadi kemudahan
automated
berbagai
money.
dalam
You know,
melakukan
everybody
sejumlah
since the beginning of
aktivitas.
time been looking for two things. They've been looking for the fountain of youth and a way to automate income so, you know, money's on trees. And a lot of it has been written on that. You see books about it. I'm going to tell you right now what my 2 cents is about that subject of how you can automate your income. I mean, the first question is, can you really do it?
Perkembangan itu juga membuat setiap penggunanya merasa menjadi bagian dari komunitas dunia yang seolah tanpa batas. Namun, pemerintah dinilai tidak tanggap. Pasalnya kecanggihan teknologi digital tidak selalu berdampak positif. Tanpa aturan, pergeseran norma dan alasan ekonomi dapat menjadi dampak negatif dari kecanggihan era digital di tanah air.
Kalau peraturannya secara spesifiknya memang belum ada menurut saya saat ini ya.
Peraturan yang dimaksud harus diakui telah menyulut kontroversi dari berbagai pihak, padahal aturan menjadi penting, terutama untuk menanggulangi dampak negatif dari masuknya bisnis konten asing.
Masalahnya, sesuai undang-undang tentang perfilman, konten yang disajikan ke halayak ramai itu harus disensor.
Indonesia hanya menjadi pasar bagi konten-konten asing. That keep people from getting automated income. Because I would say, out of the business that I've started, invested in, I'm a mentor to, I'm an advisor to, only about 1% of them would qualify for this principle of automated income. For example, I know a guy, just in the Queens, I don't really know him too well, but he invested in a company, got in real early, and he owns like
Konten bukan satu-satunya yang seharusnya menjadi perhatian pemerintah. Potensi pendapatan negara tidak optimal karena banyaknya uang yang dibawa lari ke luar negeri.
Secara hukum juga bahaya. Adalah mereka tidak bayar pajak. Ya, mereka langsung semua yang mereka peroleh pendapatannya mereka book di luar negeri. Tidak bayar BBN, mereka tidak bayar pajak penghasilan. Kemudian secara ini kebangsaan, secara kepentingan nasional juga tidak baik.
Potensi pajak yang bisa
here's
hilang
what I think
10 sampai 15
Number
triliun.
one, there is a myth that it's all about the idea. So I kind of classify people that I meet by the myth that they bought into. I do this on myself. I'm like, Ty, what myth have you bought into today? The idea myth.
Itulah sebabnya banyak pihak meminta pemerintah untuk segera mengatur industri berbasis teknologi informatika. Bila tidak, bangsa ini akan menanggung kerugian termasuk pergeseran nilai yang sangat mungkin terjadi pada generasi muda bangsa.
So they think it's going to be something that, you know, they're going to wake up one morning and go, boom, that's the business, boom, the next Snapchat. It doesn't work like that. If you look at the 1% of people who figure out how to automate their income, it's all over. In fact, that guy that I told you that makes millions and lives in South America, he invested in some trash companies, believe it or not, like waste type companies in the United States. And he got in early. And so that's not a business that you would traditionally, idea-wise, think would bring you the holy grail of the goose that lays the golden egg. So the idea, if you buy into the idea myth, I'm going to tell you what I can predict about you. 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now, if I met you, you'd be like, I'm almost onto it. I'm just waiting. Like you know, you meet those people. Don't be an idea myth person. It's much more, automation is much more about two things. It's about structuring and force of will. So here's what I mean by this. Structuring basically means, pardon, I have bad handwriting. By the way, you like this shirt? Somebody made it for me. It's got my name on it. They mailed it to me. Thought it was a cool idea. Anyway, structuring. So what I mean is, it's not per se a specific industry. It's not, I was just reading the book about Paul Allen. He co-founded Microsoft with Bill Gates. It's not like only computer people get rich. So you have to have a computer type idea. It's not like only people in Wall Street are the ones. You can structure almost any industry well, so that it has some level of automated income, or you can structure it poorly. So you don't have to wait forever. You should use all that brain power instead of the magical idea on thinking on structuring. And there's a lot I can talk about that. I'm trying to keep these videos relatively short because people are busy. I know you're busy. And then the second thing, force of will. You give me one person with the amazing idea with no persistence and tenacity, they're never going to create an automated income. You give me another person who has a so-so idea, but they're willing to push. You know, it takes, like the old saying goes, you know, To get what you want, you have to deserve what you want. You have to grind at some level. So even if you want automated income, there is a point, inflection point when it starts. Before then, you have to put in the work. So the number two thing, the myth that keeps people from getting automated income. So there's the idea myth, it's the hard worker myth. If you look at comments I get sometimes, I get people saying stuff like, Ty, you know, there's only one way that none of this stuff, you don't need to read books, you don't need mentors, which is absolute BS, trust me. I was just on the phone today interviewing Ryan Holiday. He's one of the top he was the head of marketing for American Apparel, right? Built $1 billion brand with them. And we were talking about this, and it's like, it's not just that you put your head down and you work harder than everybody else. Because if that was true, next time you go to a restaurant, who do you think is working the hardest at that restaurant? Do you think it's the waitress? Do you think it's the cooks? Do you think it's the busboy? Or do you think it's the owner? Now, I don't know who works harder, waitress or busboys or kitchen staff, but they work a lot harder than the owner. So the owner makes more despite the fact that in terms of pure physical exertion. So if your plan is just to work your way, you're gonna work your way into the ground. There is definitely, not to be cliche, there is definitely something to the thought of smart work. You know, it's like I see people and I actually feel bad. You know, I get 3,000 to 5,000 people email me or contact me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, a day. Right? So I get all these people pouring out like, dude, I'm trying this. And I see like 50% of people, their thing is like, I'm just gonna work a little harder. Like, I need to structure my day. If I just woke up at 4 in the morning, I'd get more done. Well, you know that Pareto principle you've heard of before called the 80-20 rule? Without a doubt, 20% of the work you put in life gets you 80% of the money. That's been proven. Pareto was an Italian economist. It's been proven over and over to be true. So you can't just out hustle, because if that was true, we'd live in a world where, you know, people doing construction were making more than people who are in glass offices. All right, number three, the third myth, and I think a key, you got to ask yourself, if you want to automate income, are you a wanter or a wisher? These are the three types of people that I never see automating income. And I've been able to automate income in different businesses. And when you get it right, it's insane. And that's why I said there's about 10 things that I've done. These first three are the things I've avoided. They're like the landmines. Then there's some other things like the front loading effect, power scaling, all these other things that you do. I don't know if I have time to get to those right now, but I'm actually going to do, people are asking me to do these online talks. So I'm going to do a free online talk. If you want to know the complete, what I call $1 Million Blueprint that I teach when I buy a company and I retrain and rehire, you know, new people to manage the company, this is what I teach them. This $1 Million Blueprint, it's about 10 principles. So there should be a button below me or above. Click it. It'll take you to my website. It's absolutely free. You can register. By the way, don't wait too long. Some people do it to the very end. And the last two I've done have literally crashed the servers. So many people because they're free, right? So tens of thousands of people try to get in. So I'm limiting how many people that I let in so I don't blow up my servers. I'm actually having my coders recode the comment code so it doesn't crash everything. So if you think this will be helpful to you and you want to learn, you want to shave 10 years off this $1 Million Blueprint learning curve, go ahead and click the link wherever they are. You just sign up. It's no obligation, or you don't have to pay or anything. And it'll tell you what time. We'll translate it. We'll convert it to your time zone so you know exactly what time to show up. And then you can just watch it on your phone or your computer or whatever. But let me give you the third one right now. So wanters and wishers. The sad news is some people are all three, which is a real disaster. This is the most common. Jim Rohn is a famous life coach. He died. It's sad. He's a genius guy. You can find him old YouTube videos back like 70s and 80s. He's the guy who trained Tony Robbins. And so one thing, the analogy that Jim Rohn said, he said, the world doesn't respond to need, it responds to seed. The world doesn't respond to need, it responds to seed. The way I think of that, I lived on a farm for 10 years. It's like if you're a farmer in October, and you're hungry and you're standing in a field and there's no corn and there's no tomatoes and there's no apples, you can't just yell at the earth and go, I'm hungry. The earth doesn't respond to that. The only thing the earth does is respond to the seeds that you planted 6 months earlier in April. You can't be eating in October if you didn't plant. And no matter how much you cry, no matter how much you want, no matter how much you wish, and we live in a world, there's lots of different theories on what it takes to make money. There's, The Secret, and I believe in some of that. There's The Power of Positive Thinking and Norman Vincent Peale and all these books. You guys know I love books, without a doubt, the people who create automated income are people who are masters of planting seeds ahead of time. And 2,000 years ago, I think it was Lao Tzu, a philosopher, said, prepare for what is difficult ahead of time. I'm butchering the quote. I'll remember in a second. Do what is difficult. Do what is difficult when it is easy. Do what is difficult when it's easy. And so the farmer who plants when he's not hungry, it's easy to plant then. And most people, and I hope this isn't you because this was me at one point, my plan to make more money was to wish. I would sit there and go, what if I won the lottery? And then what happens is a negative spiral because it starts leading you into anger. So you start getting mad about things you can't control. You start going, but the government, but my parents didn't, but my school. But the point is, that's over. Stephen Hawking, one of the leading physicists of all time, he says he used to think that time would reverse at some point in the history of our universe, that the universe would contract and time would go back. You could go back in time. You would be like Benjamin Button, old, and then you'd get younger. But he says he made a mistake. 20 years later, 30 years later, he said, the arrow of time always moves forward, thermodynamically, psychologically, and cosmologically. And so what that means for you and I in practical terms is that when you want and wish, you're focusing on things that according to the law of physics cannot be altered. So wanters and wishers are always misplacing their energy. And so I'm telling you this, greatness is cool under pressure. If you're completely broke now, or you've made some money but you're plateaued, you're not going to want and wish your way out of this. It's good to be optimistic at some level, enough to give you hope, but that has nothing to do with people who make big money. Mark my words. I've been broke and I've made money before. And I will tell you, it wasn't because I started going, hey, I deserve more. This is going to happen. There's nothing wrong with doing that in minor amounts, but what's better is planting seeds. And you must become, in Silicon Valley talks about this accelerated cycle called the lean startup, or the MVP, the minimum viable product. And if you look at companies like LinkedIn, Twitter, for example, I just interviewed the guy who wrote the book Hatching Twitter, which is the first real story of the founding of Twitter. People don't realize Twitter was started in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It went from idea to a beta version, and that beta version wasn't that good. It was like a text. It didn't have hashtags. It didn't have usernames. But you know what? They had momentum. And the opposite, if you're a wanter and wisher, you must become a momentum creator, because you know what the end result of the momentum, the 4 Twitter guys, you got Jack Dorsey, you got Evan, you got Biz Stone, and a guy named Noah. Those 2 main guys, Ev and Jack Dorsey, they're worth over $10 billion. They were worth billions early 30s. Why? Because they weren't wanting and wishing. You must create momentum where you are, and you gotta transpose all that mental energy that the vast majority of the masses of humans make. My favorite quote, Thoreau, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is just confirmed desperation. So don't fall into these 3. Now, there's 7 other things. So these are what not to do. There's 7 things you need to do. I need a little more time to go over that. So like I said, I'm going to try to keep these relatively short. So there should be a link below. Click it. It's completely free for all you suspicious people. It's free, literally. You don't have to pay anything. And if you're super suspicious, I always tell people that are super suspicious, don't even bother. Super suspicious people never get anywhere, by the way. It's okay to be, smart, but cynics lose. So at some level, you got to understand these 3 and these other 7. So I got this free talk. It's the same blueprint that I literally, when I call it a blueprint, I literally print this out. And if you're ever here in Hollywood and come into my company, you know, at any given time, I'll have 40, 50, 60 people in the office that I'm taking time to train on these same principles so they can go out and run multi-million-dollar companies that I buy or that I start. So check it out. Click the link below, might be above. And check out this $1 Million Blueprint. I promise you that these principles work. For some of you, you only need to make an extra $1,000 a month. For some of you, you know, you got high aspirations. You want to be the next Jack Dorsey or Bill Gates. This stuff works. It's scalable at all levels, no matter where you are. It works for guys, it works for girls. So it's good stuff. Remember, of all these, the most deadly of the 3 that I talked about is probably these 2, the idea myth, the want or wisher. You don't need just an idea, you need a structure. I remember I was actually at the SLS Hotel in Beverly Hills, and when I was first really starting to make some money, and I sat down with these guys that were big money guys. These guys had made, you know, $100 million, and I had a lunch with them. It was at a conference, and one of the guys looked at me and he said, "Ty, it's all about your structure." And I didn't know, I remember thinking, what's this dude talking about? Is he just making this up? And now I realize at the end of the day, structures win. So I'll be talking about that plus, you know, these 7 other things. Check it out, click the link. And by the way, on that you can ask, there's live chat, so you can ask questions and get responses in real time while you listen in. So click the link, it'll show you the time. And yeah, talk to you soon.